You ever bought something only to have it go on sale like 30 days later when you can't get a price adjustment? Or have you ever bought something and then something better comes out like a month later and you're stuck with the old version? Have you ever done both of those things at the same time with the same item? I know that I have, and today we're going to talk about how to avoid doing that in your home gym. Welcome back to the GymCrafter podcast, everybody. My name is Tim. I am the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I build to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And sometimes when we're building those gyms, we fall in love with the process so much that we pull the trigger a little quick. We get a little trigger happy on our purchases. I know that I've definitely done that. It's especially when you do things like go to Home Gym Con and you see all the shiny new toys. You're like, I want one of those, and I want one of those, and I want one of those. And then you end up with a lot of clothes racks down the road sometimes because you bought too quick, or sometimes you get so impatient that you buy something now and really wish that you had waited. And while I've talked about this on a podcast before or two, I'm sure this is a pretty common topic. This is one of the most common questions I get when it comes to building home gyms. Should I buy X now or should I wait for Y to come out? And I think we're at a time right now in the home gym space. We've got Q4 coming up a little bit down the road. You've got the holidays coming up. You've got Black Friday. You got a lot of new products set to launch before the end of the year. And I am getting an awful lot of questions of, should I buy X now or should I wait for Y? So I thought I'd actually address a few of the most common questions on today's podcast. We're gonna talk about specific examples, specific products that are coming out, whether or not you should wait to buy that specific product, whether or not you should buy something now. Maybe you shouldn't buy anything at all, but that's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna use, like I said, some actual products that are coming out. And these are all actual products that I saw at Home Gym Con. You know, the reviews on Home Gym Con, while mostly positive, there were actually a lot of people who were disappointed. And one of the reasons that they were disappointed, and maybe that's the wrong word, some were downright mad about this, but they were disappointed that there were so many prototypes there, that there was stuff that they can't buy right now. Because obviously when you see the shiny new toy, you want it right now. It's like taking your kid Christmas shopping in October. You know, like, hey, what do you want for Christmas in 2 months?
I want an official Red Ryder Carbine Action 2-inch range ball air rifle.
Ooh, no. Shoot your eye out.
Right? So that doesn't necessarily help many of us because we are like big kids when it comes to home gym equipment. I know I'm just a big kid when I'm walking through Home Gym Con looking at all of that stuff. And I know that a lot of people were like, why did you show that to me if I can't have it now? So while I've got my own feelings on the state of things today where people need everything right now and have to have everything they want, we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about some of those things, like I said, that people want to buy now but that aren't available and whether or not they should wait. And I think the first thing we need to do is kind of set the stage for the conversation, because when we talk about things, coming out down the road that are better, things coming out down the road that are less expensive, things coming out down the road that are, new and different and maybe would be a better suit for your needs, the first thing we need to talk about is the definition of the word obsolete. I hear a lot of people say that because product Z came out, product Y is now obsolete. And I think it's very important to remember that the definition of obsolete is that the thing that you bought no longer does what you bought it to do. And that is actually never the case. I sold retail electronics and appliances for about 30 years, and you've heard me talk about this before, but we got an awful lot of customers who would come in and tell us that because a new model came out, theirs is obsolete and no good anymore. I remember talking to a lady about a fridge one time, and she was all upset because they came out with these new fridges that had these touch panels in the front where you could keep like your family's calendar and your grocery list, and they had cameras inside so that you could actually, at the grocery store, you could pull up an app on your phone and look inside your fridge. Super cool feature, right? But according to her, that made her current fridge obsolete. And it was a difficult conversation explaining that, look, your fridge still does exactly what you bought it to do. There's just something new that came out, and I got news for you. There's going to be something even newer and cooler that comes out in 6 months, and repeat infinitum, right? Because it's just going to happen. Is infinitum a word? Ad infinitum. That's the thing I'm looking for. But anyway, that's just going to happen. And that's really the second overall thing, is just understanding that no matter what industry you're looking at, whether it's appliances and electronics or whether it is home gym equipment, there is always something better down the road. No matter what you buy, literally no matter what you buy, at some point, the company you bought it from is going to come out with a better version, an upgraded version, an enhanced version, whatever you want to call it. So that is going to happen. Whether it happens in 6 months or 6 years, you really don't know, but it is going to happen, and we all need to buy things understanding. I think most people understand that, but you do get some people who just get bent out of shape no matter what because they release something new, and they're kind of thinking, how in the world would you sell me this when you knew that you were going to do these other things to it? And I think what people forget is that they don't, a good example is my favorite bench, which is the Rep AB 5200. There's an awful lot of people out there mad, and you see comments online all the time, and they say things like, why would you release that bench without the accessory port? That's ridiculous. I bought that bench. I love that bench. Why would you release it without the accessory port? And what they fail to realize is that the accessory port wasn't even a twinkle in somebody's eye at Rep when they released that bench. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't like they decided to release the bench and go, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release it without that accessory port so people can't buy more stuff for it down the road. That didn't happen. But I think it's important that we remember that there's always going to be something better down the road, and sometimes we're going to want to buy that better thing. That's why they invented Facebook Marketplace, right? Another general rule is the people who take what we just talked about and they have the wrong reaction to it, which is, I'm just never going to buy anything. I talk to people all the time who have decided on a product for their gym, or they've decided to build a gym, but they're going to wait till the next best thing comes out. I need a rack, but I can't find a rack that has X, so I'm going to wait for X. And then a rack with X comes out, and then they say, well, now I need Y as well. And then, well, now I needed to do this. And they end up never buying anything, and they never start training. So big piece of advice is never let the fact that what you want exactly isn't out now keep you from working out. Even if that means you have to join a commercial gym for a while to work out, the most important thing in all of this, always, all the time, is our health. That's why I do this for a living. That's why I work out. I know a lot of people work out for aesthetics, and that's a great side benefit, but the real reason to train is our health. Strength training and working out in a garage gym or in a commercial gym or wherever you work out is one of, if not the single best thing you can do for your health, for your longevity, for your productivity, for your ability to be a better person, a better father, a better brother, a better sister, a better mom. You get the idea. I talk about it all the time, but don't let fear of something better coming out keep you from buying something today and getting to working out. Number 4, general overview thing, and you guys hear me talk about this a lot. I will never stop talking about this. Do not go into debt to buy gym equipment. Just don't do it. Stick within your budget. As I mentioned before, if you can join Planet Fitness for $10 a month, if that's all you've got, do not max out your credit card. Do not, even these no interest, Zazzle and Zezzle and Bread and Skip Pay and whatever the other, the payment processing system du jour is on the website you're shopping on. They make it seem real easy. Oh, well, this can be yours for as little as $60 a month for the next 5 years. And just, it's not a good idea to do that. I'm going to get off my soapbox right now, but really, you can train in a lot of ways without putting yourself in debt. The next overarching rule to remember is that no matter what a company does, it's going to make a segment of its customers mad. And I'm going to go back to Home Gym Con for this. I was super happy and super excited to see all of the prototypes. I thought that was one of the best aspects of the show. It was one of the most fun aspects of the show. I love going and getting to talk to the product designers, to give them feedback, to think that maybe a suggestion I gave might show up in the final version of the product. I love that they let customers know that something new is coming, so that if you were on the edge of buying something, that maybe you could actually say, hey, maybe I'm going to hold off until this new one comes out, so that you're not upset, right? So I thought that that was a really good thing to do. While it made a bunch of other people mad because they showed a bunch of stuff you can't buy yet. Well, the other side of that is if they don't do that and they just come out with something new, and we'll talk about some specific examples of that today, then you make another group of customers mad, right? They kind of tend to say, well, why didn't you tell us that this was going to come out? You let me spend $2,000 on X, or you let me spend $5,000 on X, and then a month later you came out with a new one. So it's a weird line that these companies have to walk, and just understand that if you're running a company like this, there's really no great solution. Because as soon as you say something new is going to come out, you're going to kill the sales of something old. And it's not that something old is bad, it's just you might have stock that you have to sell through. So from a business perspective, you kind of got to walk that line. Some companies they'll come out with something and they'll come out with something new and they aren't going to tell you. And there's always going to be that group of customers who bought a month before the new thing came out, and all of them are going to think, oh, I just missed out. And just understand that that's a possibility, because again, it's hard to walk that line as a company, and you may buy something from a company who's just not willing to share those prototypes up front, and you don't know that something new is out until the something new is out. And then the last overarching rule we want to make sure we have in place for this conversation is that everything I talk about today will have affiliate links down in the description below. And if you decide to buy something and not wait because of this podcast and you feel that I've helped you out, it's always appreciated if you use those links. Those links are what pay for trips to Home Gym Con. Those links are what pay for me to buy new equipment to review, because of all the stuff that I review, I still pay for probably 75% of it out of pocket so that I can show you guys what I think is good for your gym. So that's going to help you get better content from this channel, and that's the same of all YouTube channels, guys. If you feel that a YouTuber has helped you out, whether it's in this space, whether it's this channel, a different channel, whether it's you watch shoe videos or you watch woodworking videos, the reason why all of us say that is we do this part of it, the making video part of it, for free, and hope that we help enough people that they click those links and buy through those links, and it helps us out. So even if it's not me and it's somebody else, if you think Gluck helps you out better, use Gluck's links. If you help, you think anybody else, you think Joe Gray over at Gray Matter Lifting does a better job, use his links. Just make sure you use those links. And that's, like I said, the last overarching rule before we get into the specific examples. And the first one I want to talk about is the brand new Force USA C20 that I saw for the first time at Home Gym Con, which was one of my favorite products at the show. And just to give you guys a little sneak peek, depending on when I post this video, I may actually be in Draper, Utah at the Force USA headquarters for the second time that I've been out there. And they asked me if I wanted to come out and not only take a closer look at the C20, but also take a closer look at the new sliding bench that they've introduced. And I can tell you that the new sliding bench will work with the C10. Those products are going to live side by side. The C20 is not replacing the C10. They're going to exist side by side at different price points, and the new sliding bench will work with both of them. So I know that was a question a lot of you had. It wasn't that you wanted to upgrade to the C20, but you would like to see the new sliding bench and wanted to know if that would work with your C10, and it will. I am also going to be looking at quite a few other new products. They haven't even told me what they have. This is all kind of on the down low.
Be very, very quiet.
All I know is that they've got new stuff coming out. So I am really excited to go out there and take a look at it. I will shoot a ton of video while I'm out there, and then as soon as I'm allowed to, again, they have to walk that line I was talking about. As soon as I'm allowed to, I will release those videos so that you can see what new things are coming out from Force USA. But let's dial in on the C20 versus the C10 for now. So the C20 is going to be an upgraded version of the C10. First of all, you're going to see an improvement in the steel gauge. You're going to go from 14 gauge steel in the C10 to 11 gauge steel on the C20. It's one of the biggest pieces of feedback they got from all of you and from people in the home gym community, was that they wanted to see that unit with a higher gauge steel. And you're also going to see part of the result of why they haven't always done a higher gauge steel. The price is going to be considerably higher. It is more expensive to build a unit out of the higher gauge steel, and it's a lot more expensive to ship that unit because it's a lot heavier, and shipping goes by weight. The higher the gauge, the higher the shipping price. So you are going to see some price increases because of that, but it may or may not be worth it to you. There is definitely an upgraded aesthetic. So I thought it looked really cool. Go back and watch. I did release a kind of a sneak peek of the C20 from Home Gym Con, and go check that out on the channel, and you'll see they really put some really cool design features in it. So it looks pretty cool. I like it. So I know it might be a little bit of a polarizing design to some. I have heard some people say they just like the plain stuff, but I really like the fact that they put a lot of thought into what it looks like. They have also upgraded a lot of the accessories. The J-hooks were really awesome. The safeties were great. Their new dip handles are fantastic. They've got new barbell collars coming out, which are really cool. So there's a lot of accessories, and that was another thing that people complained about really their whole line, me included, of their whole line of all-in-one trainers is that the J-cups were kind of chintzy, the spotter arms were kind of meh. They were all kind of afterthoughts. It's almost like they put a lot of thought into designing these all-in-one trainers. And keep in mind, the Force USA stuff is designed from the ground up by Force USA. They're not white labeled or anything like that. But it felt like while they designed their trainers, they just kind of went to the factory and yeah, we need some of those accessories to throw in there. And the accessories always, to me, felt like an afterthought. And the C20 really shows that they paid attention to that feedback, and it's not just me, a lot of people told them that, and addressed that, and the accessories are so much nicer. And a good analogy to look at these two units side by side is I was at the dealership the other day getting something looked at my car, and the dealership had Ford Broncos on the floor. And I'm not a Ford guy, but I will say the new Broncos do look pretty cool. And it was interesting because they had the Bronco Sports, which were the inexpensive ones, kind of smaller, and then they had the Bronco Sasquatch edition, and the Bronco Mount Everest edition, and the Bronco whatever, big monkey edition. They look at a lot of crazy ones, but it was interesting because they're both Broncos. And even if you take the Sport out, you can make a case that the Sport is a smaller all around. Even if you went just a standard full-size Bronco to these special editions, that's kind of how I look at the C10 versus the C20. And when you buy cars, some people like to go and they're like, I'm not going to pay for all of this extra stuff, right? I'm not going to pay for special badging and special window tint and special patterns on the seat and carbon fiber dash, because a lot of these special editions, while there are some performance upgrades in locking differentials and off-road capabilities and higher ground clearance and things like that, a lot of the difference is actually just a special color or a special trim. And some people are willing to pay for that, and some people aren't. When I bought my 4Runner, I bought an off-road edition. Partially because I use it sometimes off-road, but also because I just liked the way that one looked. I liked the higher ride height, I liked some of the stuff inside, so I was willing to pay a little bit extra for that. And I think that's a good way to look at the C10 versus the C20. It's not that you need to wait for the C20 because it's going to be quote-unquote better. It's going to be better for some people. So when you're answering the question of should I wait for the C20 or should I buy the C10 now, here's what I would look at. Number one, what kind of training do you do? What are your training goals? To me, the big reason to wait for the C20 is you want to buy an all-in-one trainer, but you also want to do a decent amount of barbell work with a decent amount of weight on that bar. As good as the 14 gauge steel is, and that's one thing that I always kind of push back a little bit on when people said, hey, I really want 14 gauge isn't enough, 14 gauge isn't enough. And I've always said this and I always will. It's not that there's 14 gauge in it that's a problem. What's a problem is whether or not you use the 14 gauge in the right way. Do you use the appropriate bracing? Are the braces a heavier gauge steel? Do you use enough bolts? Do you use enough braces? When you can look at a 14 gauge rack by Major Fitness that starts to bend and flex and lean over time, it's not because it's 14 gauge, it's because it's really poorly made and poorly designed. Whereas when you look at a 14 gauge C10, that thing's never gonna lean, it's never gonna bend, it's never gonna have problems. But it is a little bit more appropriate to have 3x3 up, and I didn't mention this, along with the 12 gauge, it's 3x3 uprights with 1-inch holes as well, I believe. So you're gonna have the ability to use other people's accessories on the C20 more than you can the C10. And that's not going to come into play if you're not doing a ton of barbell work. If you bought it because you want the functional trainer, you want the Smith machine, you might occasionally throw a barbell on the front and do a barbell back squat or maybe do some bench pressing, then the differences in the upgrades in the C20 aren't going to be as meaningful to you as somebody like myself whose primary mode of training is a barbell, and I would want maybe better spotter arms. I would want to maybe put, like the Pegasus seat by Rep on the front, or I might want to, just be able to rack a heavier amount of weight and not worry about the stress over time on the unit because I know it's a heavier gauge steel. So that's kind of how I would decide of whether or not to wait between the C10 and the C20 is the type of lifting you do and the type of training you do, and looking at, is that going to be worth the price difference? I don't know that it's going to be worth the price difference for most people because of the aesthetic differences alone. It does look a lot cooler, but I don't know if it looks $1,000 cooler, $2,000. I don't know what the price difference is just yet. It's going to be a not insignificant price difference. So that's something that I would look at of whether or not you would want to wait for one or the other. So all of you guys who have written me emails or video comments of should I buy the C10 or should I buy the C20, number one, the new sliding bench will work on both. So if that's what you're waiting for, don't let that hold you back from buying now on the C10. And then, like I said, depending on the type of training you do and the materials you want the rack to be made out of, that's going to determine whether or not you wait for the C20. As far as when the C20 is coming out, supposedly before the end of the year, but I have learned dealing with all of these companies over the year that what they say and what actually happens are two completely different things. So I wouldn't count on anything being out until it's out. So don't count your chickens and plan on a certain day that the release date's happening, and then all of a sudden that release date's just a pre-order date, and then you're fine. It's just, be patient, but don't really kind of look for a specific release date. I don't have any on any of the things I'm talking about, other than I think everything I'm talking about today is going to be slated for Q4 as of now and subject to change. And speaking of bad marketing and bad information on release dates, another thing that I want to point out, and I think that it's important to look at, is when you're looking at something that isn't out yet, whether it's an upgrade like the C20 is, or whether it's one of the products I'm going to talk about next, which just isn't even out yet, really take a hard look at the marketing materials and decide whether what you want is the flashy marketing or what you want is actually something that you'll use. And I want to give you guys a great example that I actually learned at the show, which is the Vultras. The Vultras are really, really cool. I actually went into the show thinking I would never actually want the Vultras, and the more I think about them, the more I wouldn't mind having them in the gym. I'm not spending $2,500 a piece on them, but I think they're cool. However, the more I think about them, the less I think I'd actually use most of what's in it. So what I mean is there's all these cool things, and you'll see people on YouTube channels talk about changing the strength curve and doing drop sets and making the eccentric heavier than the concentric. And while all of those things, there's such a deep list of features that they can use in the marketing, and it really, all the YouTube videos, the reviews, the marketing material on Vultra's website really makes use of all of those different functions as a way to sell the product. But when I sit back and I think about how many of those things I would use past the first week or two of ownership, that list gets pretty small. I can really see myself tinkering with those things a little bit here and there, and then ending up just using a couple of things. So the reason I brought that up is as you look at should I wait for something or should I not, really kind of ask yourself, are you waiting for the marketing features, or are you waiting for the things you're actually going to use it for? Because marketers are good at their jobs, and they're really good at making us want something now even though it's not available, and maybe missing out on working out on something now that would meet our needs just fine. So like I said, ask yourself, is what I actually need to achieve in the gym, is that achievable with something I can buy now, or do I really have to wait? And that brings us to the next product I want to talk about, and one I get asked about a lot. So there were a ton of bolt-on Smith machines at the show. There was the Fringe Sport one. I'm going to tell you right now, just don't buy that one. If it's anything like the prototype, it was hands down the worst one at the show. There was all kinds of slop in it. I don't think it's worth your money, regardless of what the price point ends up being. So just skip that one. The Bells of Steel was pretty good. I have heard feedback that it messes up your bar, and I've heard feedback that it doesn't mess up your bar. I don't know which way that is, but it is a bring your own bar. It was nice and stable. It was well built. It was smooth. It is priced well. So I do think that that's an option for you. The Bulletproof VTS, which is basically a unilateral Smith machine that you can either put a bar in or you can put single handles in. You can use, it's really versatile. That's going to be something where you're going to want to decide if you want those functions. But for me, the best overall home gym, just average home gym person, bolt-on Smith machine, for those of you out there who want one, was the Rep Fitness. The Rep Fitness was really head and shoulders above pretty much everybody else's. I actually liked the way it felt better than I liked the VTS from Bulletproof. I really, really liked the design. I liked how solid it felt. They're the first company that I've seen put actual UHMW or rubber on the hooks so that there's no metal on metal clanging. I thought the way that it attached was unique. They put some new pictures up on their website where they've shown how it's going to work with every one of their, you have an Aries, you'll be able to use one, which is really cool, right? You could be able to use one regardless of the rack you have, regardless of the setup you have. And it was rock solid. There was no lateral play in it. It was really, really, really well built. So here we have a product that if you're looking for a bolt-on Smith machine, here's a product that's definitely better than the other stuff that's out there. It's arguably better than any other option you have now. So if you're thinking about adding a Smith machine in this type of a situation, you have to go, okay, it's not like the C10 versus the C20 where there's something that could meet your needs now, and it's just if you have certain needs, you would want to upgrade and wait. With this, if you're typically not looking at changing a Smith machine you already have, this will probably be your first, only, and last Smith machine. So it makes sense in this case to wait. I would recommend that everybody wait. If you're looking to buy a bolt-on Smith machine, I would wait until the rep model comes out. Cool thing about the rep model is not only is it going to work on every one of their setups, a ton of other people's setups, but it's also going to have a bring your own bar option, a fixed bar option, which had a really nice, like really wide diameter bar in it, which was fantastic. They're going to have unilateral handles, so it will simulate what the VTS does from Bulletproof. I really think that this is going to be, at least for now, until somebody comes out with something better, is going to be the best add-on Smith machine option. And the cool thing is another nice thing that this is an example of is sometimes when we're looking at whether we should wait or whether we shouldn't wait, you want to ask yourself, is this something that I need for my gym, or is this just something that I want for my gym? And if you've watched this channel very much, you know I'm not a Smith machine fan. I will never intentionally spend my own money on a Smith machine for the gym. I won't tell you that there won't ever be one in here because companies ask me to review stuff, and if rep says, hey, I want to send you one to review, I'll definitely take it and review it for you guys. But I don't necessarily want one. But even if you are a fan, I don't know of anybody who needs a Smith machine, right? So there's nobody out there with a pressing urge that you have to pull the trigger on a Smith machine today. So when you're in that type of a situation, I think that the Rep Fitness bolt-on Smith is a great example of the type of product that you should for sure wait on. You know it's coming out. You know it's going to be by a good company. You know that it's a quality product because it got a bunch of good reviews from the show. You know that it's going to be better than all of the current options out there that are already out there. And it's hard to imagine that somebody's going to come out with something just head and shoulders better than it. I really think that if you're looking for a bolt-on Smith machine, that's the one that you should at least wait for. Now, I don't have pricing on it, so it could come out and be $1,000 or $1,500, and you might go, oh, I should probably go with another one. That Bells of Steel is less than that. But I think that everybody, if you're looking for one, you should at least wait to see what the final configurations are, if it'll fit your rack, what all the add-on accessories are, because it sounds like they're going to have some cool handles for it and some other cool accessories for it. So I would wait on that one until it comes out. Now, after building Rep up like that on their Smith machine, I'm going to turn right around and knock them down a little bit and talk about their leg developer, because they showed a leg developer at the show, which a lot of people have been waiting for. And boy, they have been kind of sneak peeking this thing for a very long time. It's been supposed to have come out for a very long time. It's actually getting people a little bit upset with Rep because they've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting to buy this leg developer from them and passing on other things. And that's one issue that can come up when you wait for stuff, is when release dates get delayed and there's other things on the market that could do what you need them to do. So the question is it actually worth waiting, because is it better enough to wait? But the product I really want to talk about is the dialed motion leg developer. It won product of the show. I think the video that I shot on it has 16 or 17,000 views right now. It's just a great product. It's the leg developer that I want to have in this gym when all is said and done. I've got 3 or 4 of them in here right now because I'm doing a big video on them. But once that video is done and the dialed motion comes out, I will have the dialed motion. So for me, it's worth it. So I want to talk about, is it worth waiting for the dialed motion? Is it worth waiting for the Rep Fitness? Or should you just buy a leg developer now? So this is a great example of a much more common situation. So when I talked about the Fringe Sport Smith machine, that's something that there really isn't anything great right now. There's something passive. There's something that'll get the job done in the Bells of Steel, but there's nothing that's gonna make you shout from the rooftops like the Rep Fitness one will. So that's probably worth waiting, because that's a unique thing to wait for. The C10 versus C20, that's really more of an upgrade, so that's gonna depend on what you want. With this is much more in line with a lot of the situations we find ourselves in. The market has stuff that will get the job done. And it will get the job done at a lower price, and it will get the job done just fine to where you probably won't use whatever you have and say, hey, I really wish this was better. I've got a $300 Rip Fit leg extension leg curl, which is fantastic. It really, really is. It's a great piece. For the price, you absolutely can't beat it. I've got an $800 ATX in here, which is better than the Rip Fit. It hooks up to my cable system. I love it. It's super smooth. It fits my body a little bit better than the Rip Fit. I absolutely love it. It will get the job done. I don't get on that and wish that I had something different. I have the Freak Athlete connected leg developer. I love that thing. I thought it was one of the highlights of that unit. If you've already got a Freak Athlete, you don't have room to put a leg developer in, you want something to just put on the bench that you already have, I think that's a great way to go. So here you've got a situation where there's lots of good options. There's just something coming out that's much better, right? So the dialed motion is better because it gets you a better stretch in the leg extension position. It gets you a better stretch in the leg curl because it allows you to do seated leg curls. The seated leg curls, if you're not familiar, have two benefits. And honestly, if you can, I would definitely look at leg extension leg curl machines that offer a seated leg curl. You're seeing more and more of them come out, but that's A, because it's better on your back. If you've got back issues, sometimes prone or lying leg curls can aggravate your lower back, whereas seated leg curls won't do that. But also, when you're seated, instead of laying flat, you're sitting up, which stretches your glutes and it stretches your hamstrings where they attach, and that starts you in a more stretched position, so it gets you a better workout. It gets you a more effective, more hypertrophy. Hypertrophic effect? I don't know, is that the right way to say it? Somebody tell me down in the comments how to say that the right way. My brain got ahead of my mouth there. But, so there's a couple of advantages of doing that. I like the fact that the dialed motion stores in a wall. I like the fact that it's universal and attached to any bench. I like the fact that they have a kick butt preacher curl attachment that's gonna come out for it. I think it's better overall. It's also 10 months away. It's also going to be a lot more money than options that are out now. So when I talked about flashy marketing versus actually what you're going to use it for, I think there's a lot of hype around the dialed motion right now. I think it's warranted, but I also think that it's got some people, including myself, a little maybe more excited than we should be if you need a leg developer, right? So you can get the job done with a lot that's out now. You don't need to wait for the dialed motion. Now, like a Smith machine, you don't need a leg developer, so waiting isn't a big deal. Just do some squats and lunges, guys. It's totally okay to do those things instead of buying a leg developer. If you're a competitive bodybuilder, that may not be the case for you, but in the end, you could definitely wait if you want. So who should wait for the dialed motion and who should kind of stay put? And why am I not talking about the rep anymore? Based on what I saw at the show, it's kind of meh. It was good. It's better than the Freak Athlete for sure. It's better than the Iron Master. It's better than the Bells of Steel, all those bench attached ones. So for a bench attached unit, if you have a Rep Fitness bench, either the Blackwing or the Nighthawk that have the accessory ports, then this is going to be a good option for you. It's going to be less expensive than the dialed motion. It's going to be better than anything else out there that's bench attached. So, but for me, because the dialed motion can hook onto any rep bench, for me, I would be willing to spend the extra money. So who should wait? Number one, you're gonna need to be willing to wait because pre-orders are in Q4. You're not gonna see this thing till May at the earliest. And number two, you're gonna have to be willing to spend the extra money. And some people are and some people aren't. One of the things that kind of cracked me up about YouTube comments is invariably, no matter what I talk about, there is somebody who chimes in the comments about how dumb that thing is because it costs too much, and here's another way you can do it for less. And it's like, well, I don't want to do it for less. I like to spend on nicer things, and I don't mind spending the money. So if you're that person, like I'm not going to mind spending the money on the dialed motion one because I like it better. I like the company better. I like the guys that designed it. I like the story of the company. I like the product itself. I like the engineering. I just like it all around, and to me, that's worth a little bit more. So if those things are worth it to you, then yeah, I would say wait for the dialed motion piece. If those things aren't worth it to you, what's going to happen with a lot of people, I guarantee you, is they're going to wait for this dialed motion piece. They're going to place the pre-order. There's going to be shipping delays. You're not going to get it for a year and a half. And then they're going to get it and they're going to go, oh, it's leg curls and leg extensions. I could have been doing these for a year already. So ask yourself if you're that person. Really put yourself in that position where you're sitting on your bench a year from now. You hook up the dialed motion. Was it worth the extra money and the extra time? And for some of us, we'll say, yes, it was. And for some of us, you'll go, yeah, you're right. I could just buy the $300 RitFit bench and be done with it and do leg curls and leg extensions for the next year, and my legs will grow just fine that way. Now, those are 3 specific examples. I also wanted to give just some general advice overall, because again, this is a question that I get asked a lot. Should I wait for this or should I buy now? So I came up with just a couple of general overviews to keep in mind, not just for this podcast, but just for shopping in general for gym equipment. So number 1, no matter what you buy, pay attention to resale value. As nice as this RitFit machine is, when I go to sell it, and I'll sell it at some point, I'm gonna end up selling it for like $100 or $125 most likely. I'm not gonna be able to get a ton of money for it because there's just a ton of them on the market. There's a ton of them on Facebook Marketplace already. It doesn't have a ton of resale value. So one of the ways to take the sting out of something better coming out down the road is to buy things that you know that you can sell. Like for example, if they come out with a Dane 3, this has great resale value. I can sell this on Facebook Marketplace for probably $2,000 or a little bit more, so I'm not out a ton of money. If this was a major fitness rack, I could sell it for a couple $100, hopefully, and hope that it doesn't take a month to do that. So think about that, so that if you are the type of person who gets upset that something new comes out down the road, or you know that you're always the guy who wants the new shiny thing, then don't buy things that don't have good resale value. Buy things that you know that you're going to be able to sell. How do you know that? Number 1, you can't ever go wrong with Rogue, Rep, Bells of Steel, Fringe Sport to a point, the major companies. If the product is only sold on Amazon, there's a 99.999% chance that it doesn't have any resale value. Again, if it's only sold on Amazon, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to sell it for anything. And Facebook Marketplace is littered with those things. There's just a ton of them out there, and they're cheap and on Amazon only for a reason. They just don't last. So buying something like that on the used market just isn't a great opportunity for a lot of people kind of filling their gyms. So be aware of that. Number 2, one of the biggest pieces of regret that I hear people tell me when they're talking about the stuff in their gyms is settling for something because the thing you want is not in stock. Now that's okay if it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. If the thing that you wanted was the Bells of Steel bench and the leg developer, and they're out of stock, but you decided to go with the Iron Master bench and the Iron Master leg developer, those are kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I don't see a lot of regret happening there. But what I do see happening is, oh, well, the rep got announced, and I waited forever for the rep. I couldn't order it in time. You know, they sold out their initial stock, and now I've got to wait. Forget it. I'm just going to buy this other thing, this Freak Athlete one for my Freak Athlete. Well, I can tell you for a fact that the rep one is much better than the Freak Athlete one. It's not good versus bad, it's very good versus much better. But I talk to a lot of people who they get frustrated or they get mad because something isn't in stock, and they kind of buy out of spite. I'm so mad, I'm done waiting, I'm just gonna buy something now. And that thing that they're like, I'm just gonna buy something now, a lot of times you end up regretting that. So it is sometimes better just to be patient and wait for the one you actually want. It's not something I talked about a lot on this. It's just sometimes the one you want is the one you want. There doesn't have to be a good reason. There doesn't have to be, a spec difference. There doesn't have to be, anything else. It's just, that's the one you want because that's the one you want, right? Like if you're buying a Bronco and you want the Sasquatch edition and they only make 15 a year and you got to wait till next year, till the next line of Sasquatch editions come out, then wait till the next year because that's the one you really want. And what's going to happen is if you buy the Mount Everest edition, every time a Sasquatch passes you in traffic, you're going to be upset. So just keep that in mind as well. Just wait for the one you really want if that's what you really want. This next one is the one that's really hard to do. It's something that I can't do, but I'm going to tell you you should do it anyway, which is stop shopping for things once you bought the one you bought. Because a lot of times the regret happens because we literally say, I want to see if something better came out. I want to see if something better came out. I want to see if something better came out. And really what you should be saying is not, I want to see if something better came out. It's, I want to see if I can make myself really upset today. I want to see if I can make myself really upset today. So as hard as it is, especially for us, if you're watching this podcast, that's an impossible ask. Because if you're watching a home or you're listening to a home gym podcast, you're on home gym sites looking at stuff all the time. And there's no way you can not see the new things that come out. But if you're watching this and you're not a home gym dork like I am, or a lot of people that watch this podcast, and you're just thinking about maybe you're just building a gym for the first time and you're not a home gym dork, then once you buy your gym, stop looking at gym equipment. Because like I said at the beginning, your stuff is never going to be obsolete. It's never going to not do what you bought it to do. It's always going to do what you bought it to do, no matter how many better things come out. So the only thing you can do by looking at stuff, especially if you're not in the market to actually buy something new, is to look at the new stuff. And I have one last piece of advice. Be very, very wary of V1 products by almost any company. People bought the Aries 1.0, the Aries 2.0 came out so soon after that, and I saw a lot of people upset about buying the Aries 1.0, and I understand. It was a new product, it was really unique, it was super cool, it was at a much better price point than everybody else has copied it at this point. It was a great product, but it was a V1. And while it could have been perfect, it might have been, it wasn't. And they changed a bunch of things based on user feedback, and they came out with a 2.0. And that upset a lot of people. So maybe don't buy a V1, but be prepared for a V2 to come out relatively quickly if you're buying the first iteration of something. Same thing with the Dane. The Dane 1.0 came out, and I think, 6-8 months later, they came out with the Dane 2.0, and it upset a lot of people. So should they have been upset? That's debatable depending on whether or not you wanted these features. That's a whole nother discussion. But what I'm trying to impart is if you're going to buy a Dane 1, just be prepared if it's the first of its kind from that company. And this was the first of its kind from Fringe Sport. And it was really the first of its kind at its price point. Just be prepared for a V2 to come out. The silverback dumbbells behind me. A lot of you guys have been asking for a review on these. I will shoot a review eventually when I'm done being mad. The short version is don't buy them. I haven't been more upset or more angry with a product that I bought, I think, ever. There are too many problems with them to list in this podcast. There's a lot of problems, guys. I wouldn't recommend them. I wouldn't buy them again. It's not a good thing. So, but they're V1. They're the first version, right? So if I would have waited, so all of the problems with them are aesthetic. It's not like they're falling apart or anything. There's just a lot of aesthetic issues. Some of them are rusty. There's mismatched fonts. The numbers are facing the wrong way. The steel shows through the rubber. It's missing knurling on stuff. I could go on and on and on and on. It's just like I said, it's been a horrible experience. But they're a V1. So knowing what I know, I should have waited. I should have waited for them to sell through their first production run, get feedback from their customers, because these are all things that are going to be corrected in the next run. If you're watching this video, I'm recording this in August of 2025. If you're watching this in August of 2026, it's probably just fine to buy some silverbacks. They probably sold through all the garbage ones, and they fixed all the issues at the factory, hopefully, and the new ones are great, right? The V2s are great, even though they won't be called V2. Basically what I'm saying is if you buy something when it first comes out, you're taking a risk. And I've paid the price for that a couple of times over. And I'm gonna give you that same warning about the dialed motion leg developer. As awesome as that was at the show, when it comes out, it's going to be a V1. And knowing the guys who developed this, the way that the product lifespan goes is they're going to take pre-orders, they're going to have the factory make a bunch of them, they're going to ship orders. Their brains aren't going to stop thinking about ways to make it better. That's not how they're built. That's one of the reasons Dialed Motion is an incredibly good company. The guys who run the place, they're just like, you can tell, they're just always looking at how to make something perfect. And I guarantee you, they're going to have 15 things they want to make better on the leg developer in the V2. So, for those of us who buy the V1, just don't be surprised when a V2 comes out relatively quickly. And if you waited a year, does it make sense to maybe wait 2 years for the next version to come out? I don't know. That's up to you. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys gotten burned on any V1s? Are there any silverback owners out there who have the same issues I do? I can't believe that I'm the only one that had the aesthetic issues that I had. Not to mention, days and days and days of cleaning these things. These things showed up like they pulled them out of the bottom of a junkyard. It was awful. But anyway, can you tell I didn't have a good experience with them? And can you tell why I haven't shot a review? I will shoot a full review. I will show you pictures so you know I'm not exaggerating. I need to calm down a little bit first. You ever have a fight with your significant other and you're like, we need to go our separate ways for a while so we don't kill each other? Yeah, that's me right now with these dumbbells. So I need to take some time, separate. I will get back to them. I promise I'll get you guys a review. But for those of you guys who have been asking for a review, that's all the review you need. Don't buy them, but I'll show you why another time. And that ending on a super high note, right? Ending on a super high positive point. Thanks for Professor Positive for bringing us down. But anyway, if you've watched until now, I really appreciate it. I always do. I always wonder how people can sit and listen to me talk for 45 minutes to an hour on every podcast, but thousands and thousands of you do. So blows my mind, but I am super grateful and thankful that you do. And that's all I've got for this podcast. So until the next podcast, until the next review, until the next ranting about bad products, whatever happens to be you tune in here for, I'll see you next time. I'm Tim with GymCrafter.